check one, check. Yeah, 1, 2. Sweet.
Yeah, so just angle it so that it's,
More like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, got you.
And the rule typically is you kind of want them to be within like around a fist or fist and a half from like where your mouth is gonna be. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want me to cup it like this?
Yeah.
Check. Okay, there. Yeah, that sounds great.
It's like an engineer's nightmare. It's like, yo, man, don't be cupping the mic, man. Don't watch those videos. Those videos are wrong. Wrong, man. You're getting the wrong idea. Right?
Certain MCs, like professional MCs, like even Nas and other MCs of his caliber will cup the mic however the fuck they want.
Perform
and
with
you know what
orchestras.
happens is that the engineer who's paid very well knows how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's paid. You know, it's,
I mean, that's like you
can't
know,
restrict
Pereira, you know, at that point, right?
the vibes.
You're cupping the mic before you're tweaking out all this stuff before anybody touches the mic to begin with. Now
That's true.
Like Chris Pereira rolls with us. He's on tour with us, and he's cupping the mics at every point until it squeaks, and then he gets rid of all that shit. That way, there is no chance for it to happen. That way, whatever someone decide, like we have an MC up because we do sometimes, and then when they do that bullshit, it's like fuck. It's like no, I appreciate you're like, hey, it's just so you know, right here is about right, and don't fuck around. I have to do that when we sing, you know what I mean? Every now and then I have to remind myself, I'm like, oh wait, I'm getting too close. You know, so I have it set up over the years. Now I'm like, got it dialed where it's like I have it set up exactly at my keyboard where there's no way, because if I move any forward, I'm gonna bump the keyboard.
Yeah.
So I have it set up perfectly. So now I'm like right here every time, boom. And the engineers are like, thank you, motherfucker.
Heck yeah. Well, hey, let me tell you what. This is a really special episode I've got here for you guys this time. In the studio, in the juice box right now, I've got Brian Swislow and Jay the Sarge. Oh, go ahead.
Were you starting right now?
Oh, sorry, fam.
I didn't know that we were starting. I gotta.
Oh shit, I wasn't ready.
I'm just like hearing myself. I'm like, all right, just because the monitor's on don't mean.
You're good.
Sorry, brother.
No, it's all good. I literally just need to press the record button. I just didn't know you were like ready to begin right now. Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
We're good though. We can go.
Kill it.
Anytime.
Righteous. How y'all feeling?
Good.
Good. Hey, well, let me tell you what. I am blessed right now because we're in the juice box. Juice's juice box. And I've got two of the dopest musicians that have ever been involved with Humboldt County music, period, in this dope studio right now. And I'm talking Brian Swislow and Jay the Sarge. What's up, fellas?
Yo. What's up, David?
Hey. Thank you guys so much for coming out and doing this episode. I already know that this is going to be one for the books. You know what I mean? Speaking of that, you know, Mr. Swislow brought out Scott Holmquist's book. You know what I mean? So I know we'll get into that at some point. Thanks for bringing that out, Swizz.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate what you guys have done, you know, just on a personal level for this community for so long. You guys have put in a lot of your life, your energy, your lifeblood, you know what I mean, to people, to the community, to the sound, you know, just to positive growth of this community, you know what I mean? And so, like, again, that's why I'm saying I'm just blessed to be able to sit here, you know, with you guys and get this on, you know, the podcast. So thank you, fellas.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yeah. Swizz, I just wanted to give you a quick shout out because this is, you know, going to be your first one. As if people don't know, this is going to be a new co-host for the Hip Hop Humboldt podcast, Brian Swislow in the house, you know. So, and I really think that's a good move just for the community in general, because Swislow's bringing a lot of knowledge of what's happened in this community for a long time, right? Been directly involved, firsthand, you know, experiences in this community. So that's going to really, I think, help flesh out a lot of the stories when we do get legends on, like Jay the Sarge. You know what I mean? So thank you, Mr. Swislow, for blessing the podcast with your energy, and what you do for the community is just continuing on. I love to see it. I loved, you know, to be a part of it any way I can with the Congress, with, you know, this Hip Hop Humboldt podcast. So thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you too. That's super kind. It's humbling to be you know, a keyboardist. You know, as I was telling Juice here, I'm like, you know, I just found this place, and ran into a bunch of MCs. I'm a keyboardist, but then to go further, it's like to actually have a platform. Years ago, I hit a wall. It was like, being a keyboardist is cool, producing, making beats is cool, but what is that doing for the community, really, though? And it's healing people through music and all that. I get all that, but it's like once you realize we actually have a platform to talk about some of this important stuff, now that hip hop is, not only not a fad in nationally, not in New York, not in LA, not in, it's not a fad in Humboldt either, and it's like it's not something that came and went, and it's a point when I think about how far back Jay and I go, it's like the movement is surreal in a way, because it's just like it's just blasted off, So yeah, so to have a platform to talk about hip hop, being someone who didn't grow up here and but got to be involved by being a musician and being down and loving the scene and believing in what it stood for, it's like it's pretty cool to be doing this. So I appreciate it too. That's like I don't take that lightly.
Brian, you're a good organizer, great motivator, you're a great producer, and I know I definitely got inspired by you a long time ago. I mean, hip hop is definitely part of my roots, coming from San Jose, the South Bay, moving up into Humboldt, seeing that there wasn't a whole lot of it, and being inspired to create my own and get into it, start building beats and work on the craft of emceeing and building beats. You were definitely right there on the forefront of it, helping Humboldt establish itself and our foundation for the hip hop that we have today. And so definitely proud to be on this ride with you and to be talking about it today.
We met early on, and I should give the shout outs to the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings, Potluck, there's Adam Brandt, Jubal Sherman, Jesse Sherman, what's now Redwood Roots. It's fun to watch what's happening now with some of the elders of that scene in the community. When you look through that book and you think about what Sonny Wong's doing, or Chris Durant for that matter, or what Gil has done, or what people don't know about Nocturnum,
Garth too.
Garth Vader, like
hard for years.
And Potluck, these guys have gone international, and
it's fun.
It's a trip, and I wonder how I got involved in that. It was just by being a keyboardist who moved here and was playing in a local band called Spank at Cafe Tomo, which is now Mazzotti's. Was owned by the Tomo people, the original, when it was Cafe Tomo, that was the venue. And so I have to give those shout outs to Greg Camphouse, who was the first musician I really played with here in town, and then people like, through all of those musicians then became the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings by crossing paths with a bunch of MCs who were like, you and your funk band, and these MCs speaking about Medical 215 legit, Proposition 215 is Humboldt hip hop, man, and it's just something that needs to happen right away. And I was like, I'm in, I was like, I like the brand new Heavy Rhymes Volume 1 that came out in like 1990, 91. I was like a kid, and I was like, this is like a live band bumping with like Grand Poobah and Jamalski and like Guru and the beginnings of Far Side and like Cool G Rap, and it was like all this old school MCs rocking with the band, and I was like 19, 18 years old at this time, and I was just like, oh man. So it wasn't until way later that Humboldt hip hop found me, it was just like as soon as they brought it up, they're like, oh, you and your band and these MCs is dope, and I was like, oh my God, I'm never leaving this place.
Heck yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, another brother that really helped establish hip hop and was bringing up a lot of acts and also doing a lot of DJing and producing, shows would be DJ Thanksgiving Brown.
Oh yeah, man, Peter,
big instrumental brother.
When you go back to Manifest, right? Manifest was legitimately maybe first MC that was out doing anything. This is again where it gets blurry for me, so I won't speak out of turn or out of ignorance, because I moved here in 1997 and didn't really make any noise until 1998, 99. But Manifest had a song and I believe that it was being played at the Oakland Raiders games at some point, you know. So he made some noise early on, and he was one of the early MCs, Pistol Pete, and that was Manifest, and Peter Thanksgiving Brown was his DJ, and Peter has gone on and has produced and has done all kinds of cool stuff in New York and like all over the place.
Outside of hip hop.
Yeah, outside of hip hop, right?
Incredible.
Yeah, he was an OG. Yeah, he was there.
That is.
Him and DJ Red, like they were like the first DJs I really remember.
Yeah, and it reminds me that the biggest point that I really want to make tonight, you know, during this podcast is regarding hip hop music, hip hop culture, hip hop dance, the whole span of the culture, all the elements, is that it's incredibly inspiring in general, getting a taste of it, no matter how far you dig in, no matter how long you dedicate your life to it or not, from different angles. I've done the MCing, I've done the DJing, and I'm still flirting with both of them. Now I'm playing a lot of bass. Now I'm doing more production. Now I record a lot of hip hop vocals and stuff, and I'm mixing and stuff like that here locally in Humboldt County. I've been doing that for years. So it's just since, you know, I caught the bug, as you were saying earlier, in the early 90s San Jose golden era, getting inspired by, you know, MCs down in basically south of where I was at. I was in the South Bay, LA, Los Angeles, and New York. Biggest inspirations you could get from at the moment. And the golden era really started around the early 90s in San Jose, where, you know, I would say 8 out of 10 people were rapping. You know, I started off breakdancing and doing a lot of graffiti, and I still do pieces to this day from time to time when I have time. And it just builds an incredible amount of confidence, and it's the best thing for the youth. It just incredibly revolutionary, I think, just for me personally, just being able to look at it in a conscious way and expand in any element that I wanted to dabble in. And it was for me, it was for everyone. And then sometimes, you know, in the Bay Area, I did get exposed to some of the Rocksteady chapters and found, you know, a unique take on just incorporating the hip hop elements into a more cultural way, I think. And learning about your ancestry and just, you know, learning a real history and stuff. So it's not only has rap, you know, but other just elements, I guess, again, within the culture has helped create this kind of consciousness that I just really feel incredibly inspired by till this day. You know, as much as, you know, I don't have a whole lot of involvement in rapping these days or going to hip hop shows and stuff. I'm just incredibly grateful for, you know, the things that it has inspired me to do, because I'm still doing music, and just in general, as an American. I mean, this is an American culture, you know. I have a tune with Life Rexall where we talk about that. Just like jazz, hip hop is an American culture. So I'm very proud to be a part of it and stimulate it here in Humboldt, as you know, when I was really going hard at it.
Yeah, and your brother too, just to mention, when you mentioned all elements, it's important to mention your brother is an OG Humboldt rocker, and Rex at it. His brother is a fantastic dancer.
Yeah, big up B Smash, man.
Yeah.
Oh, B Smash. That's your. Oh yeah, he told me that was your brother. That's right.
He teaches all forms of dance, you know, blues and swing, and you know, and hip hop really helped expand his realm, and you know, within the different genres of dance and his focus. And of course, he's dabbled in production, he's dabbled in DJing. My brother inspired me to get turntables, to buy more records, and to start scratching and stuff like that. You know, he's my younger brother, so it's just incredible, man. I just got so much thanks for that whole vibe, especially coming from that golden era in the 90s. I mean, it didn't stop until, as we were saying earlier before the podcast, talking about the MP3. And how that just kind of slowed down the production of wax, the sale of wax. And that's when I was just starting to release wax myself and dig in and start working on producing and having a small label. The first label that I started up here in Humboldt County was called High Art Records. I started that with local MC by the name of Pendragon, aka Gil. And he and I and another brother from Oklahoma named Graham, we had a group called Optimistic Populace. And we released our first EP in 2004, I think it was. And unfortunately, Graham moved back home, and so it was just Gil and I, Pendragon and myself, holding it down for a couple years. But we did start building our mixtape, the Behind the Redwood Curtain. And so I've got 2 Behind the Redwood Curtains mixtapes that feature a variety of artists from all over the world. And it's just incredible. Those were the MySpace days. And I remember trying to link up with, well, it wasn't hard. I hit up 2Mex, hit him up on MySpace. They were rolling through him, AWOL1, and Life Rexall. And so boom, we ended up getting into the studio after doing a show, and I just love how things would just manifest that way. They can make some more bread while they're in town doing these shows. I get some experience writing with these cats, recording them on my rhythms or the rhythms I've co-produced with other people. So I mean that's where the foundation is started, and learning from these new and upcoming OGs, and it's just a blessing.
That's one of the coolest things I think about the culture, is where you can find, inspiration and influence nowadays. It's, not just from, like the OGs, like something that, not to just talk about the stuff that we're talking about during the Humboldt Hip Hop Congress meetings, publicly and everything like that. But, me and Swizzlo were at the meeting yesterday, and we're just talking about, for instance, like Knack One's son. He's a young gentleman producer around here. And I mean, I got respect for him. He's making dope, instrumental CDs every summer. Dropping those summer beats tapes. You know what I'm saying? So that's inspiration just for me as a,
exactly.
3 times his age.
Yeah. He's 17.
Got to be able to pull it from every angle, because it's just about. I was just talking about this earlier, and it's about letting people shine, any age at any time, and letting them, do it to their fullest potential, because the inspiration just keeps, building.
Eli Fowler is a perfect example. It's like he was at it when he was 14, 15 years old, and by the time he was 17, we had already recorded some songs. And like for me, I was playing in bands since I was like 13 years old, playing in bands and like playing in clubs while I was time like 15 and 16. I got the Thirsty Whale, playing with my rock band, and then by the time I'm 19, so it's like when you see young cats doing it early, you kind of know that they're gonna stay in it, right? Perfect example, just hungry when he was 17, and it's like, I definitely identify with that, because by the time I was 17, I was like, yeah, I'm not really gonna be doing anything else other than this music thing. I'm just gonna get as good as I can playing these drums and playing this keyboard. So I'm glad I was a drummer, a drumming keyboardist, because by the time I started making beats, I'm like, oh, making drums? I already know how to do that.
I feel like
I never sampled anything ever once. And I was like, hey, man, you don't want to deal with copyright stuff, hit me up, because I'll just write this. And that was like that was what it was. I had a Triton or MPCs, and it was like, that's what we were working with.
Well, you and Eli and people like y'all, great musicians like you guys, make it look easy only because you've been doing it for a while and you respect the craft. And that is the attitude that it takes to persevere and maintain your dopeness.
And you will like being a fantastic bass player who's held down the reggae community locally for years and produced all these cats, band leader.
Yes.
Holding it down, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's funny that you say you're like, oh, I've been doing bass lately. It's like, it's funny, it almost sounds like when I first met you, you're like, oh, well, I play bass with, it's Masagana, you know what I mean? Or, and
I really
Ishii and Kiriki, speaking of, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, but you're coming back around.
I know, I slowed down playing bass, went heavily into hip hop music, post Optimistic Populace and mixtapes, and started working with Mike and Nine and got him on my second mixtape.
Magic Heart Genius.
And then, he came up to Humboldt with his lady, and then we started building on music, and within the same year, that was 2008, we released our first album, we scrambled Micah 9, Jay the Sarge, and came up with Magic Heart Genies. We reached out to DJ Drez, and he was definitely the glue. And we just had fun with that project. It was about being stoners. It was about being silly, having fun, doing serious stuff, doing lightweight stuff, trying to source beats. We made some rhythms together. It definitely had a variety of genres within it. Again, that's what hip hop is all about to me. Hip hop is everything, any American art form, all in one, and it can go any direction. If Jay-Z touches any rhythm, it's still hip hop. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Any rhythm, it doesn't matter. It's hip hop as fuck, because that's what it is. I think he's a hip hop artist. He's not just a rap artist. I feel like he's very culturally refined and etc. And I don't know if he's one of my all times, but I do respect him. I really do. Speaking about artists, I really appreciate Highway, one of our local artists up here. I had a chance to work with him years ago on my mixtapes.
Shout out Highway.
Yeah, big up that artist, and also producers, GMG. Enjoyed working with Franco from the Dirty Rats, the whole Dirty Rat crew. They've been incredibly inspirational, doing shows together, building our hip hop community and our connection.
They've been at it a long time.
Yeah, it's I brought an album for you today, David, the Mind Police record, and the artwork is done by Sonny Wong. That's that one right there, and it features myself and Micah 9 on one of the tracks, and the whole album has rhymes and poetry by Dave Dub, one of my biggest inspirations from hip hop and in general. It helped me find my voice. This brother is from San Jose, and he's one of the OGs from down there. Big up David Whaley, Dave Dub, incredible MC. So we did this punk rock album called Mind Police, and I hired a couple different drummers and a bass player, and I played bass on one of them, and I'm doing some rhymes with Dave, myself, and Micah on one of them, and that was just a cool crossover project, and it's very much punk rock, rock oriented, and very proud of that too. And just we released it on Micah 9's imprint called M9 Entertainment, and it was just a pleasure to produce.
Oh, you just said this is for me to keep, did you, brother?
Yeah, it's for you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sonny Wong,
man, that's
did
sick.
the artwork on that. It's incredible. And then there's a picture of Dave on the other side. So we did the picture disc.
On the other side of the disc.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Oh man, that's clean, Sarge. Thank you, man. Shout out to Sonny Wong. Man.
I think with every record though, I'm always like, oh man, I could have mixed that kick drum better, or damn, these vocals were hot and over compressed. And I was reading a review from the Magic Heart Genies' second album, Cardiac Arrest, and I read it years later, and I remember reading it when it came out, and it was cool to get some press, because any press is good press for the most part. And they were totally right, and I will admit, and I even worked with another local engineer as well. We did go a little hot on the vocals. I mean, Micah and I were recording each other, and Micah's very versed in the studio, and as am I, but if you're not always paying attention, you can't catch every fucking thing. And we were mixing it. We did most everything except for the mastering. And some of it was hot, some of it was distorted, and they were totally right. And I often think like, okay, I'm gonna take some time. I think Mike and I have talked about recurating all 3 albums and putting out kind of like a best of, maybe calling it something else, and then of course going back, remixing some things, and remastering stuff. I think that would be really cool to do, and I'm up for the challenge. And just again, with every project, always learning something, and at the same time, I still, just happy to have it out. It's been out for Cardiac Arrest, that is, for 13 years, and I still have all the masters, can take care of that. But it's about just doing that art and letting it go.
Well, that's the thing. This conversation has come up twice in the last just few days with my bandmates on the road, and anyway, yeah. I mean, in the meeting yesterday, actually, I said it. just the art's never going to be finished. It really, truly, you could go forever with a track, right? You could really go for it and spend 7 years on a record.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you have to decide that it's done. It may never be finished, but deciding that it's done is cool. If you want to go back and remix it one day, just because you just fucking have to do it, then great. You know what I mean? That's why they remaster all these movies, right? And all these records are coming out and they're all being remastered. It's like, oh, we have better technology now. Let's make it even cleaner, you know?
Yeah.
And then the opposite. It's like, all right, we're gonna release a mixtape like on cassette, like in 2024. So
right.
There we are, you know.
It always comes back around, you know.
Yeah, it's never gonna be finished, man. But
I know,
you know. So that kick drum got through, and those vocals were just hot enough for that time.
Well, you can do anything. I mean, that if anything, if hip hop has taught me anything, is that I can do absolutely anything, and it doesn't even have to be within the realm of hip hop. It could just be whatever I want to put my mind to, and it's the real deal. It's empowering, as you know, as you know, anything as marijuana can be. You know, hip hop is about being conscious, having fun, and I've definitely done a lot of that.
You know what's interesting about that is that, you know, being in Humboldt, the blessing and the curse of being in Humboldt making music is that, yeah, you get to be that creative. You really, back in the day before legalization was even talked about, I mean, come on, we were chilling, you know, not really chilling, but being able to be working in the studio and doing what we wanted to because people could afford to make it happen. It was easy. You know what I mean? You had time on your hands. You just needed to be pulling tarps or checking your room or being at the house at certain times of the day. You know, back in the day when you just had your room, your 12 lighters and shit. So it's like, you know, that's the blessing and the curse of that is that anyone who was trying to do something for real in the industry was either not talking about it and was doing it in their own lane, quietly doing it, or, you know, myself, it was like I've been in multiple bands and multiple projects that easily could have you know, made it out of the curtain, you know, but didn't really by choice a lot of the time. So it's just choosing that reality, and is more once, you know, for me, someone who really enjoyed the idea of doing music for a living and having the entire world know what Humboldt hip hop is, and you know what I mean. I'm like, I think about East Coast, West Coast. You go dirty South, you go to Kansas City, you go, you know, all the different, you know, you got that Bay Area, you got the, you know, all the different places. Now, what's up with Humboldt hip hop? When you know you watch Hip Hop Evolution, you know the Netflix series, it's like there has to be a Humboldt hip hops at some point. You know what I mean? It's like not only is there what happened a little before my time, all through Jay's time, but what's happening with Juice's time. You know what I mean? Like, and everything in between. There's a lot of history here. Like Humboldt hip hop is like 20 something years deep. So the blessing and the curse is like, yeah, you know, it's like, you don't ever have to finish a project. You can just have fun with it. And then, you know, and then there's those who are like, you know, me and you in ways too. You've made records, you've put it out. You definitely put money and time and promotions in. Like, not to say, yeah, you know, Jay's all business. At the same, while having fun and doing it, you're definitely one of the examples of people who are like, no, I'm going to make my studio work and I'm going to put records out and I'm going to get them as releases and we're going to treat them like real records. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
doing my best on the
independent level. And independent, doing this stuff ourselves with no real help from the outside and not even real YouTube videos to watch back in the day. It was just like, what? There was no real, you know, it wasn't Facebook, you know what I mean? It was like, nah, we were doing this shit. And here now, you know, when I think about me where I'm at, you know, and where we're at now, you're putting out records. Why is that like there's a band blowing up right now on the reggae scene? That's again, right. You know, and it's a Humboldt crew, you know what I mean? And
again, Humboldt County
is in Humboldt Hip Hop Congress and Object Heavy, you know what I mean? It's like suddenly we're with a label and we've got vinyl out and it's like, you know, and there's noise being made. There's noise being made from this studio, a lot of noise being in the hip hop scene. That's like relevant and like the next generation and the current and next generations are all coming out of here. So yeah,
the art is alive.
There's a lot
here in Humboldt.
A lot going on.
It always will be, you know.
Yep.
My lady just had some family move up, and they're going to Cal Poly, and they're going to be studying music and stuff. And You know, there's so much to expose them to, and it's been making me think more about all ages and wanting to get the parents out as well as the kids and doing some shows with some of these local young adult bands and stuff like that. You know, I know the Jam has been a great place to do stuff like that. I'm sure there's plenty of venues that are open to it. You know, you just did a show, David, I believe at the Playhouse.
That's right.
And they've always been all ages, and sometimes they'll do the earlier shows and do, you know, 2 sets of shows, and I kind of like that idea too. And the more we can show a diverse crowd and a diverse bunch of genres of music to the youth, you know, the better, you know, because again, we're up here in Humboldt, and it's like, you know, we need more culture up here, and hip hop definitely brings that. I love the togetherness and the unification when I see the Hip Hop Congress and the events you guys are throwing, like for instance, on the plaza for the latest thing that went down recently. Was that
the Oyster Fest?
Oyster Fest,
yeah.
Just reminding
look
me
how
of
far
that,
hip hop has come in Humboldt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, we're getting time on stages at the Oyster Fest. You know,
right?
We're like getting, you know, at the Summer Arts and Music Festival, Humboldt Hip Hop Congress was direct partner with the Summer Arts and Music Festival this year, and got behind the crew that was running the Kidlandia, and we basically had programs going out throughout the entire weekend at Kidlandia.
Right. That's dope.
It wasn't, you know, and the circus was great for years and all, you know what I mean, what it was for a long time. And this year it was Goldilocks spinning records, Rex and Hakeem, you know, teaching hip hop, Julia making murals and teaching kids how to stencil with spray cans.
How cool.
Teaching kids how to do graffiti art. I mean, it was like it was like for real. So like all the years, it's like the whole point of the Hip Hop Congress is to bring light to the street, for better or worse, you know, for lack of a better word, and share, you know, that hip hop is in culture is like implementing programs for children and showing a way through all the elements, which is all art, music, dance, culture related.
Exactly. I love that. I've been feeling inspired the same way, and I was just about to reach out to you, Brian, about going out to Willow Creek and working with Dream Quest out there, and just going out there and, you know, a variety of age groups that we could do a class at, you know, and just teach them about recording and producing, and just make a beat or two.
So the Hip Hop Congress, we were working on all this stuff. So I may have mentioned it to you before, but you should come get involved, because you're going to dig it. This is right up your alley. You're saying everything that we're totally doing, and it's basically because we've been talking about this for a long time. Just One's been was doing stuff at the Garberville shop for a while, teaching classes for DJs and painting and all that, and we're now realizing that we are able to get funded through grants to do exactly what you said. We can get we're with the Ink people as a Dream Maker project, and we're with the National Hip Hop Congress as the Humboldt Hip Hop Congress chapter, which means we can take these entities and these ideas. You can submit your idea, be like, hey, Swizz, David, Julia, Nat, you know, Goldie,
let's go.
Zach from Area Sound. Hey, I want to do this thing in Willow Creek. And we're like, okay, cool. Let's head it up. Let's do it. And then we get the funding for it. We try to figure out how that works, and we go out there and we teach hip hop elements to kids. Just One's getting involved with and going to do some photography and some DJ stuff, teaching them, and it's going to have like the two highly impacted areas are Hoopa and South Fork, right? Southern Humboldt is in deep shit, and so we have deep connections on both of those places. So knowing that you have a connect in Willow Creek that has another, like, so between Eureka, South Fork community, Hoopa, and Willow Creek, like, we're really covering a lot of ground where hip hop can implement positive, between social justice and expression, kids being, how many percentage of kids aren't living at home? in certain areas. But if they can learn to speak their minds through expression, whether it's a battle or a dance or whatever, like, right, this is like how hip hop can really make real change. And like, so all the years that we've been just making music and be like, this is dope, we're making weed hip hop, weed reggae music, Humboldt, and now we're sitting here realizing, oh hey, I want to go out to Willow Creek and teach this to kids. And it's already being accepted because we're proving that, and it's amazing that the community is really opening their eyes to be like, oh, I mean, Gil, speaking of, so Pendragon, Optipop, Gil, who ran the Oyster Fest, is the guy he was talking about.
Oh, Gil Miracle.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Is Pendragon, his partner, MC. So when I say when the stuff goes deep, when you think about Republican Duck Hunters, short-lived, super cool, fun hip-hop group.
Yes.
Chris Durant, Savage Henry. You know what I mean? You think about all the art that's everywhere on coffee and everything, and it's Sonny Wong, Dirty Rats. You know, you think about Fat Bull, you know what I mean? Not to put myself under the bus, but it's like everyone that was doing hip-hop early on, when we didn't really know what the fuck we were doing, just making music and loving life, and be like, holy shit, I'm living in this weed community where just everyone has better weed than the next person, and everyone loves this live hip-hop shit that we're doing. This is dope, you know. And now we're like, I look around at all these elders that are all doing significant work for the future of the community. You know what I mean? And that's like, that just still trips me out. Maxwell, when you think about professors, when you think about people who are embedded into the community on a deep level and outside of hip hop, when you look at their core, when you look at that timeline, that timetable, like most of the people on that list are like in Highway, they're all like, it's crazy. So hip hop has been a pretty big influence here quietly for a long time.
And it's really good to see the community, more officially, more openly have open arms for hip hop. You know what I mean? That's one thing that's really beautiful for me, because like Sarge was talking about, it's empowering, and so that's what the kids need. Whether there's all kinds of different situations that you could be in, that students are in, that kids are in their family situations, home situations. You know what I mean? And you're right. So giving them an ability to just have that empowerment and get their voice out there, it means so much. I've just been doing these shows, me and Albert, been doing these shows for like half a year now, right? 6 months or so, right? And talking to these artists, some of these guys just really need a microphone and some time on a stage, you know what I mean? To just actually like feel a part of the community, you know what I mean? Feel like they're doing the right thing by getting their music out there, you know what I mean? And when the community's not as open, it's going to be harder for that to happen, right? So now there's a lot more hip hop going on. It's like almost hip hop. There's multiple hip hop events going on every month, without a doubt. At this point,
it's a trip. It's awesome,
almost like every weekend.
It's pretty cool to see.
Right?
There used to be 2 or 3 groups of crews, right?
Right. It was
right. There was Thick Family, Highway and Crew.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
There was
shout out to Thick real quick too. Rest in peace.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Thick man, he did a lot. He led a charge. Him and there's OEB.
Yes, respect.
And then you think about the potluck, James Boy, that crew. You had your own crew, which was a lot of the reggae crew that crossed over. Not only you and Gil, but there's Ishii, who was very hip hop oriented.
Yes.
And the musicians were crossing over from. And then there was our crew, which was like kind of a cross between Sohum, because we were repping Freestyle Kings, Garth Vader, but Garth Vader lived up here. We were up here with Eli and Beryl Alexander, and you think about Mika's son, and so there were a few, I guess, pillars at this point. There were a few crews that were just regularly doing it, regularly out there, not really together, but salute. We're all doing our own thing. I don't think there were no real major beefs, kind of thing. There was a point where someone was doing like, the best, it was not the North Coast Journal Best of Humboldt, but it was, whatever crew, they were like, yo, this is the best MCs of Humboldt. It's like, well,
I know that.
it was some new crew, and I don't remember. And it was like, but it was like hip hop was kind of young here, so there was a lot of flexing going on by, by some of the OGs. Were like, "Oh man, who are you?" It's still like that, right? When we first met, and it's like HipHopHumboldt, who's that? So there's this old school mentality that I sadly admit, that I'm like, yeah, it's weirdly protective, and I only learned that by being around OG Humboldt kids who were like, "Yo, man, this is some Humboldt shit." Local, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I've kind of learned the hard way too, So here we are years later where I'm like, "Yo, David Haney, what's up with HipHopHumboldt?" And you're like, "Oh man, I just live here, man, for all this time and love hip hop and digging the scene and I work with Kariki," and I was just like, "Ah, come on, no way." You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute, and like you've just been in the shadows, really. You know what I mean? You've been here a long time, 2004 or 5, right?
That's right, yeah.
You've been here since I've known Jay, since I moved back to Humboldt. You know what I mean? And we didn't meet until what, a year and a half, 2, 3 years ago now. I guess pandemic status.
Yeah.
But it was real simple. It's like, okay, it's like we're getting older, and there's not only your whole generation, your whole crew that's killing it. From the city hippie rowdy, just that whole generation is just completely just like inundated and like all up in Humboldt hip hop right now, which is super dope. It's like more vibrant than it's been in a long time. You know what I mean? For you, and you've been like, "Oh, but Swizz, you got it." I'm like, "No, I gotta sit back and you gotta," because you know what I mean. You're getting a lot of love from so many different areas of Humboldt hip hop that, and with the Hip Hop Congress that we're doing, it's like we're finding a place where everyone can exist in their lane. You know what I mean? There were only a few lanes before, so it was just like a dawning. And this, of course, is my view. This is my personal version of what was happening. You know what I mean? So I like listening to your episodes because I love hearing what Highway's version of this was, and the Dirty Rats' version of this was, and Eli's version, and Justin's, and they cross into my world a lot, but not always. One Ton's version, you know what I mean? It's like, cool. Didn't really see that perspective, although it was the truth and what it was, but it's like, oh yeah. So it's fun to like, you know what I mean? And people will hear you talking and be like, "Oh wow, cool." So it's fun. I'm having fun listening to how you saw what I got to witness from a whole different perspective. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. We all have our version of what happened. Yeah. And they're all valid. Right?
Yep.
It's a trip. So shout out to David Haney, HipHopHumboldt, is the ambassador, is carrying the torch for like keeping the voice and like actually becoming the historian in a way. You're really archiving everything that was happening and is happening and is going to be happening, because that's why you're kind of like, when we talked about it, I was like, you're the guy. I'll just follow your lead, man, just because.
Hey, I like being, in that lane where I can just, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, you know what I mean? And I can just do what I'm going to do, you know what I mean? And, just do my best at it, you know what I mean? And I'm proud to represent a culture with so many dope artists in it. That's like the thing about it, is that, you may go around to different, I see, up and down California, there's different scenes, you know what I mean? Every like decent sized city, there's going to be a little scene, right? But the amount of talent around here, like you get some really special people around here, like Bobby Joe, like Flo J Simpson, you know what I mean, like just dudes that are real beasts that you would never expect. You'd expect a guy like that to be like in LA just like killing it or something like that, you know what I mean, but he's tucked away in Humboldt County right now, you know what I mean, just like living up here, you know what I mean, blessing us. So we got to really make sure we're supporting people like Flo J Simpson, people that are doing these shows, Knack One and the shows that he's doing. Shout out to Knack One and the shows he's doing now at Crisp, and of course the Fat Bowl Cypher that him and Brian, and Chris Boa and Lee Dog, you guys have been holding that down for 10 years plus. Yes. So that's infrastructure for this community. That if you guys hadn't done that, I wouldn't even been having the opportunity to find out about the scene. Right, that's how I even found out about the scene, was the Fat Bowl Cypher, and I was like, okay, they're doing a cypher down there. That's what's up. You know what I mean? And came and checked it out, and then got involved. You know what I mean? So, shout out to you guys for really literally holding the torch for a long time. Yeah, Fat Bowl really, and still is, changing the game now. Changing it to where you guys are keeping relevant. It's not always this like, retail. That's the leverage of a commercial retail rent nowadays is heavy. You know what I mean? And a lot of businesses are doing that. They're not doing that anymore. It's all online. You know, so
yeah, there's no reason for us to do retail anymore. And we were in retail for 10 years with a brick and mortar, 2 different stores. I remember a few months. I think Lauren, middle agent, Deep Groove Society, the house DJ, OG. He and Chris, maybe somebody walked by and was like, "Yeah, give it a year, give it some months or something like that." And I just remember being like, hearing that from them. I'm like, "Yeah, nah, we'll see. People will see. We've been here long enough. This isn't going anywhere." And somehow, we stayed relevant and open for 10 years. We not only stayed open, but we moved into a way bigger place. The only thing that stopped us really was that we opened our doors in November of 2019. So what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
March of 2020 is coming a few months later. We never even had a chance to have an artist series session. Sonny Wong and the kids with sketch pads, we never got to do any of that. We shut it down, and we were printing online. So that was the beginning of the end. We were like, well, we ramped up our printing services, and our retail just kind of never really completely recovered. And at this point, it's a blessing in disguise because A, we don't really need the retail store. B, our online game is about to blow up, and it's going to take a minute, but we're working on stuff. But Fatbull has been a name since 2002-ish. It's been relevant since Chris and I really put it to work. 2006-07, it really became a brand. By 2023, we're like weeks away from opening up a cannabis trimming facility called Fatbull Farms Processing. And so while we may not have a retail store, we're shifting into a new paradigm, which is where we've been at the whole time. We've just, that's what's happening. We're making a huge shift, huge transition. And so the brand will continue through the Cypher, through doing artist series and continuing to show up. We'll do merchandising for different festivals, and we'll stay around. I'll keep showing up until I can't anymore. And then once we get this next level of our new business off the ground, then we'll be able to revisit how we want to take the brand to the next level. So everything is a step back. If you're not taking steps back, then then good for you for being able to just continue like that. But the ebb and flow is what has built our foundation. And like when you look at our Facebook page and there's 5,000 whatever, and people are like, how come you don't have 80,000? It's like, well, first of all, we didn't buy any of those likes, first of all. Second of all, we just let it grow organically. And I know that when we post on our Facebook and our Instagram, it's a guarantee that everyone on there actually likes Fatbull. It's like, and that's a big deal. You know what I mean? That's not easy to do.
Yep.
So we've decided not to do anything other than just let it breathe. We're in it for the long game. The long game is all that matters in Humboldt, because Humboldt's retail and the businesses, they're all failing. And the weed game is up, and it's changing. So whether you like legalization or not, doesn't really matter anymore. It really doesn't. Weed's been legal since 2015. So you're either on the bus or you're not, and that's all good. People get to make that choice, and black market's going to continue. Homies are going to continue to make their shit work straight up. But at the same time, it's like, I just believe in Humboldt. Jay has been here a long time. He's making wine. He knows the green industry, knows the music industry. It's like, we care about the future of this place. So it's like rolling with the punches. So when it comes to the retail and what's happening with Fatbull, it's like, man, I've seen this shit drop 16 times. Me and Noonan have gone through this over and over again. And what happens? We come out way stronger next time.
I love that.
Right? Jay, you've seen it. Like, inspiring. I'm proud of that shit. Like, that's awesome. That's something we can be proud of. Like, you can be proud of your studio and all the music and how long you've been making wine now, right? You're still making wine. That's,
about 10 years almost.
10 years. You didn't just start making wine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we believe in the future of this community and all all that
to build a solid brand. And you know, I know Fat Bowl has been branding for a long time and representing a lifestyle brand almost. It's starting to expand into that, whether it's cannabis related, hip hop related, cannabis related, music related. I mean, who doesn't embrace those things in their life? Yeah. And you're in good hands when you're involved in these brands up here that Brian and I are talking about today, up here based out of Humboldt County. I mean, we care about people feeling comfortable, about people feeling, just in a safe environment to be creative and to just enjoy a good life, man. I can't explain the joy and the appreciation I have for this area up here, and the ability to be an entrepreneur. I mean, we have so many entrepreneurs per capita up here in Humboldt County, and to get the support, get the feedback, to have an environment to build from, and to get to that greatness that I'm talking about, that everybody deserves and has to give and offer and rejoice in as well during the process of basically just putting, whether it's a product or music, art related, putting out something that's, quality, and that I got that appreciation definitely from my roots down in San Jose. I remember during, the 90s golden era that I was talking about earlier, on stage at the Catalyst, we had an all ages, no, not the Catalyst. It was the Cactus Club. That's what it was called. In downtown San Jose off of First. They had all ages venue, and we got a lot of the group Living Legends up in there, because they were just starting to just take over the scene. And of course we had members from Freestyle Fellowship coming up there, and then our local cats going up there. And one of the things that I remember from a good brother down in San Jose by the name of Meg Abusive, big up my friend Chip, grew up with him in San Jose. He's an incredible MC, so go check out Meg Abusive. But I always remember this, is he and I were talking about cats going on stage, and they might have not been the best rapper or the most entertaining, but if they were really digging in, trying, concentrating, focusing, trying all the aspects of the craft, trying to perfect it, you could see it, you could feel it, you could hear it. That was to be appreciated, that was to be applauded. They didn't have to be your fucking favorite. It wasn't about that. And it ain't about being in the crowd, thinking you're better or talking about how you're better necessarily. It's like, motherfucker, I'm gonna do some jumping jacks over here. Let me see you do some jumping jacks. Can you even fucking do that? It's the same difference. Is like, let me see you play the bass. Let me see you provide the feel. And let me see you rock the mic. And you don't get that without the opportunities, like you were saying, David, outlets. And now here we are now in Humboldt. There's a new, kind of golden era that's starting to build with, brothers from all over Humboldt County and sisters as well. The Hip Hop Congress is really helping to fortify that as well. I know that this podcast is, and I think that's beautiful. It's going to create more unity in other genres and more inspiration. I'm seeing. We were talking about Chris. I'm seeing the Bump Foundation coming back. His other band, Sun Hop Fat, I believe it is, and it's just, I'm playing more than ever. And it does have to do with our recent 2020, business here in America.
We're in a renaissance.
We literally are.
In the Renaissance period right now. There's major change. Right when a dawning of a Renaissance happens. It's the ground gets shaky and everything falls out. People dip out. People who are not in it to win it are not in it to win it, and people who are on the fence but know that they're supposed to be doing it dive all the way in. Right? We've seen that. So it's happened in the last few years, right? It's like, look how serious you've gotten with you. You've been serious all the time, but like you fuck around. You just got a super dope studio and is not fucking around, and it's working because you're recording how many tracks? Working. You know what I mean? You've since the pandemic started, like, look what has happened to HipHopHumboldt. podcast and like your whole like, and you know, and then the Hip Hop Congress was born out of just, there's just so much. We're just at the beginning of the next level of what the next 10 years of this community is going to look like, you know. So it's really fun. You know, I'm a big fan of you know, I'm just seeing like all the generations that are just in this room alone. You know what I mean? You know, I represent the oldest, you represent the newest. You may not be the youngest, but you're representing those young kids who are super hungry and they believe in you. You know what I mean? And that's a big deal. Talking about Juice, by the way, I'm pointing at him, but you know, and that's something that Jay can, you know, say at this point. Like, there's a crew of people that believed in you. Mm-hmm. They knew that they were going to go to your studio, and they were going to get music made, and they knew that they could believe in me and Just One, and you know, and Pete, and like there was a small handful of us that could
come through.
So anyway, I think about, I was just kind of having an offshoot of Phil Jackson. Now I'm from Chicago. I'm a Bulls fan. I saw that whole thing go down. Is what it is. But he also did that with the Lakers, you know, and he has proven without a shadow of a doubt that when you put a team together that is stacked with elders, all-stars, future motherfuckers, you're going to win championships. You don't just get a bunch of, like, sorry, Houston, no offense. You know, you can't put everyone together thinking you're going to win. It's not like that. You know, when you stack the deck, you know. So when I think about Humboldt Hip Hop, it kind of takes 20 years or more for something to actually really pop. You know what I mean? Yes, there's Mr. Bungle. There's, you know, the drummer from Hoobastank was from here, right? There's people that pop. You know, El Jefe lived from NoFX, lived here for a long time. Uh-huh. There's people, you know, some of the cats you're working with are making serious noise. You know what I mean? There's people are getting plays, man. This shit is not a joke. You know, Humboldt music is thriving. I mean, Digging Dirt, you know, the Humboldt funk music scene has been around a long, long time. A bit before I was here, that's for damn sure. And, you know, and it's like, and now, just now in the last few years, Digging Dirt is now getting national success. And now, oddly, you know, Object Heavy, here I am still somehow doing the same thing, working with record labels, making real noise. And it's like, it takes the elders of the community, the veteran all-stars, and the rookie up-and-comers who are hungriest to make a community work. So we kind of have an opportunity to take Humboldt, a Phil Jackson approach on Humboldt, and zen out and realize like how important the scene is as a whole, right? That's like the biggest deal for me when I think about the different versions of hip hop, you know what I mean? The subjects that come up about how we approach hip hop, right? You know what I mean? How we're going to get on the mic and how we're going to do a show, right? These are very stark differences in how we approach hip hop, but they're lanes that exist, have to be recognized and are validated basically by design, because if society is seeing a certain thing, well, then that's where the culture's going. So it's really fun in a larger spectrum of Humboldt hip hop and Humboldt music. If we were all just thinking like Phil Jackson would think, we'd be looking at the team, and we'd be noticing all of our lanes and the people we work with coming together. When the booking people in this, you know, whoever's going to hear this, no disrespect to anyone, when the booking people start working together to make sure all the clubs are filled on every night, you don't need to be competing with people across the street from you. We don't have enough people here to do that shit, and there's no reason to do it. If there's a reggae show over here, don't put it over here. Switch it up the next night, because what will happen is that all of our shows and all of those venues will have the maximum gross potential reached every single night, instead of 3 venues deciding to have reggae shows or 3 promoters arguing over which artist is going to come through and which promoters are going to grossly overpay artists that aren't even going to bring that many people, yet you're going to pay for them because you want to be fucking cool. No disrespect to whoever's listening. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, we have an opportunity to make Humboldt music an international phenomenon like the weed is. There's already a platform. There's already a spotlight on Humboldt. So when I sit here for 20-something years going, hey, yo, it's time to wake the fuck up, man. There's a real scene here. But if we keep not working together, you know, we all are working together. But like, until the scene really puts the gloves down and says, hey, Humboldt as a unit could really be a thing. So when the studios, when we all start finding ways to collaborate, you David and Hip Hop Humboldt podcast is like a major contributor to leading to that pathway. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
Anyway, to go down that rabbit hole, but Phil Jackson's Zen mentality is what makes Humboldt hip hop.
And to reach that, to reach that goal, again, it just, and if you didn't learn it in 2020, or if you haven't taken it to heart since you found hip hop or any other conscious music, you have to ease the ego. You have to be a team player. And you might not know when you're supposed to be instated to be that team player, but if you're out on the scene, you'll figure it out. You need to literally give your energy and participate and stop trying to be too cool and so on and so forth. I'm not a rock star. I don't ask for rock star shit. I should be getting paid a lot more every gig I do, but I'm in here in this economy. I do a lot of things just like all of us have that have been on this podcast. I'm very sure of that, for low pay or no pay or this or that. And that's part of art. And I would rather live my life doing many types of art and getting the opportunity to share it with people and to entertain, hopefully, as well as inspire, hopefully, than not do it at all. But yet, a good portion of my life, I strive to work within this professional industry of music, doing all the different aspects that I do. And if it literally weren't for hip hop, I wouldn't be here right where I am and feel like I could do wine. I could do recording, mixing, engineering. And then I can also be a performing artist in a number of different ways. It's a DJ and as a bass player this day and age. And that's empowering and that's a good life for me. That's worked. And again, it's been Humboldt County that has helped provide that and stabilize my goal, because I'm ruling my destiny. And that's definitely what I've preached about in songs. And again, just, as soon as 2020 hit, and it was just like, year or so, no music. I had the opportunity to perform a little bit at ATL during, I think, late 2020. You literally just like, what? I look back at myself in the past, prior to all that, when I was doing more music, and I was just thinking that I was a little bit too much, a little too extra, that I didn't need to be. Not that I've ever been trying to be, ever been the person that was hard to get along with or anything like that. But still, like, as empowering as music is, or in whatever aspect you do, and the confidence that it gets you, you also have to be able to tame that and humble yourself so that you can get maybe to the bigger picture, which is, again, like being more of a team player and helping things succeed. Like a good example of that is coming up this Friday. I have a show in Syed Valley as I'm back in Stevie Culture as a bass player and Soul Medic, and incredible artists. Both of them dabble in hip hop. Both of them are incredible.
Did a track with him with his latest single. That's one did.
Which
Soul Medic.
Oh, Soul Medic, awesome. Yeah, I mean that guy's all over hip hop too. But we got to bring elements of our sound there, and I'm really happy to do the gig, because I know that I'm going to be able to get out of it what I've been getting out of hip hop music and music here in Humboldt in general. I'm going to be giving it, and it's going to be received and stuff, and it's just. We're one of the only live bands that will be playing. There's a lot of DJs and stuff. And with that said, it's just another aspect of just giving more and more to Humboldt, trying to help nourish the future, one gig at a time up here, because I think it's worth it,
It is. There's a long game here, in the next 10 years. There's so many people moving here. We did the Oyster Fest. We did the Shuck Nasty band, right? And it was Shuck Nasty, Humboldt's Funk Supreme. And I wanted it to say Humboldt's Funk something, because there are so many new people here. And the band was made up of members of Mugatu, Bump Foundation, Spank, Digging Dirt, Object Heavy. I'm missing a couple, but it really was a representation of, again, like of all the generations of funk music in Humboldt. And we were the headlining local band for the Oyster Fest. And Oyster Fest isn't a music festival. People come from all over the place for Oyster Fest. That's a widely known fact. So, you know, the fact that Oyster Fest has finally, in the last handful of years, recognized that you don't need to be paying out-of-town acts. You need to be paying locals more, but still less than you would pay main acts. You're saving money, but you're still hooking locals up more, and you're serving up the local music scene to people from out of town. So when they leave, they can say, "Hey, these guys were dope. Hey, City Hippie was at this local festival," and they go back to LA, and that's how you protect the culture, and that's how you celebrate us. That's how the community gets to celebrate us. You know what I mean? And so you know.
No, Sarge,
anyway,
I agree with that completely. I'm glad to see hip hop having a more and more of a place in local festivals. You know, slowly it's happening more and more, and there's artists that see that it's necessary out there. You know what I mean? So shout out to NAC One for coordinating that for the Hip Hop Congress at Oyster Fest. You know what I mean? Yeah. Shout out to you, Swizzla, for organizing the Hip Hop Congress at the Summer Arts and Music Festival. You know what I mean? Like, we need more of that. We need more venues, festivals, people, you know, producers that are producing these events, opening their hearts and arms to hip hop, because the scene is bringing out a lot of interest in this county at this point. Another thing that I really agree with, something I think about a lot that you said earlier, Sarge, is talking about ego, and people really need to like step out of like their ego a lot, and it's just so quick, right? Like it's almost like this switch. You hop on your social media feed, and it's almost like it's that bad mind, right? It's like a whole different mindset, right? You know what I mean? It's not, you know, well, depending on how you approach it too, right? Just like, for instance, me, like, I'm gonna like all of my friends' stuff just because I'm gonna show them love, right? You know what I mean? And like a lot of the times people are like, you know, they'll, you know, be stuck in that mind where I'm not going to show them love for this or that, or these people cruise with these people and all this and all that, you know what I mean? But like, just for instance, man, I look at somebody like Juice, who's out here, he's turned in just like barely more than a year, took this brand like as to one of the top hip hop brands in this county, straight up. And it's because he's visible. He supports all these artists out here. He likes their posts. He knows how the algorithms work. You know, so you just like posts, share, like, just show love to your people out there. You know what I mean? Don't be stuck in that, oh, I'm not going to, because even if you don't like them, but you like that post, their people that like them are going to see you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
if you want to go on a selfish level, you know, I always have to play catch up, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've realized, I'm like, oh my God, I've been like, running 6 pages, and I'm just like making just stories and all this shit, and I'm like, yo, what's everyone up to, right? You guys will see, it's like I'll pop up and hit everyone's shit after a few, and I'm like, man, yeah, that's a daunting task, you know. No, it's necessary though. It's like,
it gets exhausting though, that's for sure. Another thing that you brought up earlier, Swizz, that I think is important, you know, is we talked about how the pandemic, you know, changed a lot, right? Because as soon as the pandemic hit, whether it was just music events and venues and artists and shows kind of just like stopped off completely, to a lot of retail places closed and everything like that. That was a big shakeup, but almost at this, we had a really big shakeup in this area, because almost basically at the same time, the cannabis industry went through a huge transition.
Extinction event.
Right? A big change. So that's a really big change in this community in a small short amount of time. And so through it, we've seen beautiful things come out of this. We've seen the Hip Hop Congress get started. We've seen Jay the Sarge hold down. That was actually the point I'm trying to make is that while the cannabis industry has changed, while there's less money in the cannabis industry and now in the local community because of the changes in the cannabis industry, hip hop and reggae haven't missed a beat. They've been going strong. The people, the artists that have created these cultures in this county are still here, still living, still working, still making things happen in the community, still loving their music, loving the craft, and doing it. And so there's got to be, you know, at some point, there's got to be some acknowledgement that, you know, even though cannabis changed and you know, I don't want to say slowed down, because shout out to the growers, from what I'm hearing out there, like prices per pack, per pound are back up because growers are like holding the line, like, no, we're not selling them lower than this price. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, you know what I mean? So that's supporting the community. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we need that kind of support with hip hop and with reggae, and more people having open arms to letting whether it's the Congress, NAC1, Eli's, and starting to do events out there now. Juice and City Hippies doing events out there. They got one coming up September 8th at the GOAT. You know what I mean? Just right underneath right here. You know what I mean? Like, we need more. Just anything that I've been doing in this community that people are like, I've just been giving my time. I've been giving that support, showing that love for everybody. Anything I can do, you can do better. You know what I mean? Anybody can do this, and we need more people coming out to these shows and videotaping and putting that on. And spend, like, with AI, just learn the AI app. It takes you like literally a minute or two to just pop a few videos in there and do what I do. There's a couple cats in this community that could do it. I know they can. And so we need more of that, so that way there's more exposure to fight against, right, the media around here that doesn't want to give hip hop its proper exposure, doesn't want to give reggae its proper exposure unless there's like some controversy or something, right? Then they want to like put some spotlight on it in a negative fashion, right? So we've got to fight against that and all support each other.
Exactly.
So I just love to see the growth in the community. I love, like, again, to see whether it's hip hop and reggae, both as cultures, just continue to thrive. It's beautiful to see these cultures not miss a step in the last few years.
I mean, just the fact that we're being approached by pretty much every school, district, or entity, from Hoopa to Southern Humboldt to Eureka City Schools. Like, we're having conversations that are changing the face of what hip hop means in the community. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. No, and it's really dope to see too. Another thing is that Rex, sorry, let me get this way.
I'll step over it so good.
Yeah. Another cool thing is that we've seen Rex and what the Rockers have done, and they've really been at the forefront of bringing hip hop to just households across Humboldt County, Southern Humboldt, Northern Humboldt. A lot of people will accept, the breakdancing and everything as their way in. Like, they're going to learn about hip hop through that breakdancing and stuff like that. So shout out to what Rex is doing.
I mean, they've been at it for so long. Rex has been a constant. He's an OG, and he's been here for many years teaching hip hop to many kids. There have to be 3 or 4 generations of children that have, there has to be parents that, there has to be kids that are grown-ups now, and some of those kids are breakdancing, you know what I mean?
Yes. Hey man, I see it all, just for instance, like on my YouTube channel, on the HipHopHumboldt's YouTube channel, Garth Cultivator's a frequent commenter on there, right? And so he's watching these episodes, and he watched the Rex episode just from here in the juice box, and he was like, hey man, shout out to Rex. Rex taught my son how to breakdance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
he's been at it a long time. Like, back in the day, Rex and Humboldt Rockers, and again Brian, they've all been pushing it for a long time, and yeah, Rex is a major entity. It's fun to hear that. Let's see what's up with this thing. Fall out. There we go.
That's a long arm right there.
Oh yeah, that side. There we go.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Sarge. We were just talking about Rex and the Rockers, B Smash, Akeem, those guys, even to this day, still holding it down. They were just at the Crisp show a few weeks ago. That was a good time.
Big up the Humboldt Rockers, man. Relentless breakdance crew up here. Just been all about sharing the joy and their love for hip hop through breakdancing, teaching it, involving the youth on a regular basis. Big up Reckless Rex, B Smash when he was living up here the same way. Hakeem the Dream just killing it. on all levels. It's definitely inspiring and good, good for all of us, to see that art form still alive. And that's definitely something we continue to need in Humboldt is those dancers out there that like really are always constantly going at it and inspiring people to let loose and do their thing. They don't have to be a professional dancer or even have had to take lessons. It's just about letting go and enjoying the party. So Humboldt Rockers are always there, just about every hip hop show, and making noise and supporting. So definitely got to respect that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, they roll like a crew too, man. That's a strong crew, to 20 years strong. There's something to that. That's not easy.
Yeah, it's dedication and discipline again. Just it's just like music. For a musician, as it is to a dancer, it's like you need that. Even myself, when I am not performing, not DJing, not anything, and I'm just going to a show and waking up the next day and going, damn, I could tell that I needed that for my body, my mind and my body. Even if it wasn't just like the most incredible show, or maybe it was, and I remember seeing a Project Blowed anniversary show at, I don't know if it was Red Fox at the time or if it was Rumors, I'm not sure, but the same location down in Eureka. And I remember going straight to the studio. I had a studio in Eureka off of Spring Street, and operated out of there, since 2001 for quite some time, and just going right to the Triton keyboard and making beats and cutting samples and just making some shit up. And it was like, I just got back from a Project Blow show. And it was just like, that was like the main hook, and that was something that was driving me. And it was just like, damn, that is what it's all about. And it's much love and respect to Project Blowed out of Los Angeles and what they've done for West Coast hip hop.
Oh, man.
It's just incredibly amazing. Pop, at this point in time, I don't know if it's underrated, but by the masses and worldwide, masses, there's still so many that need to be exposed to beauty that's come out of that crew. So big inspiration to me down in San Jose, big inspiration to me up in Humboldt, and still remains one. Shout out to Medusa, Mike and Nine, Abstract Rude, AC Alone. They're like
Drew.
Drew.
Just here, Charlie
same
Tuna,
Generation, Charlie Tuna.
Max.
It's incredible.
Just think we backed all these cats, man.
At this point,
some of these things
we literally have.
Yeah, it's funny how we've helped each other play with different artists in different ways, and it's just been the cool connect for me and Jay, that we've backed a bunch of really dope Project Blowed MCs.
That's pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah, on our respective instruments, and it's like a jazz group. You come into the hometown of some musical oriented place, and you can just be a soloist, and you can grab from a number of musicians and put together a nice set. And I think that's beautiful. About Humboldt, we have incredible talent up here, and that's always been apparent to me. And we have some of the most incredible international acts, world-renowned acts, legendary acts that come through here, whether it's through Humboldt, Cal Poly Humboldt, or just in one of these local clubs, this day and age. It's just, groups from Africa, groups from Jamaica, of course, groups from all over the world, not to mention big acts from, our own nation. So it's just, you can't help but feel blessed up here and feel inspired, and to, want to, further your own enjoyment within that.
It really put it in perspective for me recently. I was talking to a cat, actually just right at the Richards Goat underneath here a few weeks ago, and he was from out of town. And shout out to the ATL for being such a dope venue, and that kind of venue that brings a lot of cool acts out to the area, because shout out to Gary and Booty Shakin' Productions, because he's got Sick Kick coming back,
Okay.
And so I'm talking to this young kid, and he says he's from out of the area, and he's like, like the one thing I want to do is it's the top thing on my bucket list is I gotta see Sick Kick. And I was like, oh, that's sick. That's dope, man. Like, he was just at the ATL like last year, like a few months ago. You know what I mean? He's like, that dude just like blew his mind. And then after like the night after I had that conversation with that dude, like then I see the flyer that Sick Kick is coming back again. You know, like that'll be one of the dopest shows. And shout out to the ATL for attracting that level of acts and things, and having the space, a big space like that, to be able to support 2,000 people showing out. You know what I mean?
Good point. Yeah, we're blessed up here. This is just like one of those areas right in between Oregon, obviously, or Seattle, if you will. It's probably gonna make a stop at Humboldt for one reason or another.
That's right.
That's where some of the musicians, some of the local acts that are out working, end up making some noise out of the area. And I've always been a big fan and advocate to, hey, listen, promoters, don't just put your homies on stage. Put people on stage who have followings, who put 50 people in the room at your show, because not only will it keep the venue open, not only will the promoter be able to put on another show because they'll be able to afford it, or she'll be able to afford it, but those artists, those big name artists, are going to leave here going, yo man, those Humboldt kids brought some people out and they were pretty dope. And that's the most important thing about because we're stuck in this motherfucking redwood curtain. And if you want people to know who we are, we need to respect the conglomerate. And when people come through here, we show up for them. So I get, I get funny, at this age, I don't even care anymore. Like, I care, of course I care, but I don't care about saying this. It's like, you want this culture to pop, then start doing what's right for the community when it comes to putting on a show. Get the right people on stage who not only work hard but deserve it, or have a name and are blowing up. Get them on stage. Now are those headliners going to see the local artists? Maybe not. But more importantly, when people show up early, when Object Heavy and City Hippie does a show, right? Let's just use this, right? We're sitting here right now. Let's just say City Hippie is opening up and then is going to do a tweener set also, right? So that way they don't just have to open, but they're going to get some shine in between sets.
Like the show that we did.
You know what I mean? Like Halloween, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, again, that's my formula. I know it works, man. It works and it gets people out and it gets people excited. And so, it's like, should the promoter put on an MC that's their roommate, that doesn't have any music out, that doesn't, I'm not even pointing anyone out. I'm just saying these things happen, and they shouldn't happen. And the venues can't really do much about it, whatever. But if you want to fill your room and keep your venues open, you make sure that the local band or the local MC or DJ has a following. So that way you can fill the room early, keep the venue open. I'm going to repeat myself. The promoter can afford to do it again, and the artists who came here, whether they saw you play or not, doesn't even matter, because their management is going to be in contact with that place, and they're going to look at the numbers. And when they see what the numbers were, they're going to make sure that they hit up that artist to open for them again. And they might even offer them some shows out of the area. Because they were fun to work with, professional, showed up on time, didn't act like a bunch of fucking Humboldt stoners. I'm a Humboldt stoner. I'm still early. There's some shit you just do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's just throwing my own words out there. You want to make Humboldt better, musically, artistically, and from a tourist standpoint. Well, we need to show up and be at our best at all times and do the right thing for the artists in the community, because the truth is, the logs are gone, the salmon are gone, the crabs are sick, the weeds fucked. I'm sorry, what is the natural resource in Humboldt? How many more artists are there in Humboldt than anywhere else, everywhere? It's Humboldt. The artists are the natural resource. So why wouldn't all the money, the funding, the grant funding, the school funding be going deeper into the artists who can actually provide a space and a community that's worth thriving in, and creating a better economy, which will help people stay here and not leave and turn this place into a ghost town. Anyway.
No, I agree with you, Swizz. I think it's, you know,
whatever you said triggered me, man. So
nah, that's what's up, man. No, it's like that because, you know, as this area, as there's more exposure, as people start seeing the artists that are around here, and that starts happening more and more, you know, it's gonna raise the bar, right? And just for instance, so, you know, I've been running this HipHopHumboldt account for like 10 years or something like that, maybe longer than that, right? But just barely in the last like 2 years, doing right by the community with it, right? But with it being called HipHopHumboldt, I get, in a month's time, I get probably about somewhere between 12 and 24 people hitting me up like, oh, you know, how can I get on a show, right? And it's like these people that aren't showing up to the shows, and it's just like they just expect me to say, yeah, I'll give you the microphone. You can come and get on the mic. And then when we do give somebody a chance to get on the mic like that, you know, that nobody knows what's going on with them yet and everything like that, then they don't bring anybody else out with them. That's not it anymore. Like, that's not, now, for instance, like with the shows that I'm running at Louis, you know, moving forward, it's going to be more like this. It's like, okay, like if you want to be on this show, you've got to have come to the last 2 shows. Because if I don't know that you're coming out to the shows, you're not even supporting the shows, so why would I give you a microphone?
You don't get to just get on. You're gonna have to work.
Right.
You know
And
what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna give you your wristbands, and if you want to make some money for performing, you sell the wristbands to your homies for $5, $10, whatever you want to sell it to them as, and then you bring 5 to 10 of your homies out, so that way they're coming out to the shows, and you're getting paid. And, you know, and then the room is getting filled out. It can't just be like, no, I'm going to, you know, oh, we see these dudes are doing dope shows. I'm going to just hit them up. And then, oh, he said, yeah, I can get on the show. And, you know, it can't just be like that. There's got to be standards.
Yeah, you got to reciprocate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter how dope you are. You could be the next best MC on the planet. But if you're not supporting and you're not showing up at least once, and you're not telling your friends about it or bringing your crew with you and not asking for all of them to be on the list, like, you're not really doing the job. Like, you know, this is a vulnerable moment, right? I'm going to say out loud, right? The best of Humboldt every year, right? You know, best of Humboldt is good for business. If you're voted best of Humboldt, it's good for your business. Fapple won best screen printer. We're not a screen print company. But we won best screen printer one year, and you know what we did? We tripled our printing and became a prominent printer in Humboldt because of that. Object Heavy has won best band like 4 times in 6 years, and we were like, oh yeah, no, we out there voting for yourselves? It's like, first of all, that doesn't matter. Second of all, you don't see every president walking into the booth and voting. You think they're voting for the other guy? No, that's not how that works. So it's okay. You're speaking of egos. That doesn't give you an ego. That gives you a professional understanding of how to get the marketing done. So I've been nominated Best Musician. I didn't nominate myself. I don't do that. The musician thing. Best Musician. Am I the best musician in Humboldt? I am not. Am I the best piano player? No. Definitely.
It has to do with your hustle.
Definitely not.
Your
So
consistency.
A best musician comes from showing up on time, having integrity, being a person of your word, being on point, knowing your shit, being prepared for the gig, or at least best you can. If you're gonna be late, make the fucking call. Don't be an asshole and show up late and think that it's all good, because it doesn't matter how dope you are. Nobody gives a fuck about that shit. And if you want to be a real professional, you do all the things that make you a good entertainer, which makes you the best. So if I win Best Musician, it's not because I can play piano better than everyone else, because that's not the truth. I'm not the best piano player. I appreciate the people who say that to me. It's not true. I can barely read music, but hey man, I know I'm pro. I know I can play. I'm a grown man, you know what I mean? I'm a professional. I do this for a living. I stand by my craft. Yeah. But being the best is an all-around gig. You don't just get to be the best because you're dope on the fucking mic. You know what I mean? If you're not getting your people out to the show, like, you know, when I get booked or when I get invited to go sit on a show, it's like, you should put me on the flyer. Is that because I want to, do you think, like, speaking of ego, I didn't say it before, your ego is a thing. It's never going to go away. But as soon as you can see your ego over here, knowing that the ego belongs on stage or right here in a podcast where you're flexing, or in a song where you're being like, yo man, I'll fuck your shit up because I'm dope. Like, that's great. That's where egos belong, because that's the art. You get to be vulnerable, but like, you know, but you don't get to be the best if you're not bringing people out. And so when I say, hey man, put me on the flyer, hey, let me sit in a few and I want to mention it, be like, oh yeah, okay man. It's not because I'm trying to be arrogant. Do you think I need to be on stage? I just finished 20 shows in like 6 different states. This is not my ego. This is what I'm doing, man. If you want to be hungry, this is what has to happen. Mm-hmm. You go out there and you fucking tour. So I don't need to be on stage, but I do bring people to the room. So you know what? Mention me and maybe 25 more people will show up. So, and this again isn't about me, it's about these artists who are like, if you're not bringing people, if you're not sharing the stories, if you're not at least getting people involved, you're not really worth having on the bill. Doesn't matter how fucking dope you are.
Yep.
I feel that way hardcore about that shit.
Being a part of the community, you're not sharing it and you know, letting the word out and making it open for everyone. Should be encouraging that, because we're trying to party here. We're trying to have a good time.
Trying to fill the room and keep the economy up and have create a party, which is the beginning and the end of the whole thing. If you can create the party and get everyone to show up at the party and everyone leave the party happy, all of those other things that I'm talking about, which are all strictly business, those get handled, and then we get to have more good times.
And for those that are getting older, man, you got to stay versatile and get off your ass and go out. You know, I mean, don't be so predictable to yourself. Go out and support hip hop music, reggae, jazz. I mean, a big music style that we got going on now, cumbia and stuff like that. Around town, Afro beats. I mean, get out and get you some. Support the artists in our community, no matter if it's packed or not. You know, show face and go out there, be a body up there that's going to encourage other people outside looking in, being like, oh, I need to go out there and see what's cracking. And it really goes a long way. And if you're really about it, you need to get out and support it in person.
And even like what you guys were talking about, likes, even if you don't like something, you like it to show love. It's like, hey man, showing support, it's worth its weight in gold. Like,
it is.
I have to get pushed out. I got a little anxiety, you know. I think people know this about me now, or maybe not. I don't seem like I have it, but I hide it well. And I have to take a deep breath when I walk into any room. You know, going on stage is easy. You know, I'm safe up there. In the crowd, I'm like, oh man, shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just how I got anxiety. I deal with it.
Supporting
the local crews. I have to get pushed out the door sometimes. Like, hey, you should just go hang for a little while. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm talking myself out of it because I'm having anxiety, and then I have to get pushed out the door. And every time I show up, you know, I run into a few people and I realize how important it was for me to show up, and I take that super seriously. Like, wow, you know, they were right. Like, these people were super happy that I showed up. If I ran into your boy Soul, like, I know he'd be like, yo, Swizz, you fucking showed up to my show. Like, I know as an elder now, like, that really goes a long way. When I see people show up to my show, I'm like, yo, I know how busy you are. I'm like, yo, I didn't even know y'all knew who the fuck we were. I'm just the old guy in the room. You know what I mean? But it's like, but you guys showed up. Like, I know how it feels when I see people who made a point to show up. So, yeah, showing up is like 2/3 of the love right there. And it's like, and if you want to be, again, on the like thing, if you want to be selfish about it, which you get to also be as an artist, yeah, man, go be seen for a minute. Tell people about your show coming up, so David can afford to put on the fucking show again, and Louise doesn't have to close after 6 months.
Right. He's like,
right? You know, it all comes back to the same thing: keeping the doors open, keeping the artists working, keep the promoters promoting, keeping the studios open, so the artists can make enough money to pay the producers to make the song, so we can keep our shit together. Right? Yep. We all need each other, like, really badly, like more than ever before. You know, and that's how I see it, man. been a
I agree.
long time coming for like bigger stuff. You know what I mean? Because when Humboldt gets on the world stage, then it's a breeding ground. If any of these crews can break through, like Digging Dirt's getting on a national stage, you know, if Object Heavy can break through, we're getting write-ups in Europe and cool stuff in France, and we're like, wait a minute, like we just got this cool review about the label, and we were one of the featured bands on, and you know, and it's like, you know, when you put out records and you know, and you're like, you know, festivals, and you're like, okay, we're gonna make some noise, and like you're putting out tracks, and now you're starting to get bigger gigs, and now the band will get, now the fellas are getting excited to go on tour. Like, yeah, we are the natural resource of Humboldt. There's real money here. So once it's realized and we can get the funding for it, I just feel like, you know, that's the quicker, you know, you've heard me talk about licensing and getting music and movies a million times, like between your studio, people I know and you know, we could be selling music to all kinds of places, and some are already, you know, and we have stuff in the queue being pitched to Disney and everywhere else. So imagine when we're all doing that and creating a space that now you're paying artists $50 an hour to come into Juice's studio because he sold something to Bud Light. Now, not only is he paying musicians and having a real money, and then six figures starts coming in, and the dude starts dropping $20,000 on a kid's charity. And now look now you see what's happening here. You know, when you talk about the long game, you know, it's like getting your ego, getting your shine. Yeah, we all deserve that shit. Sure. Hell yeah. If you're working hard, you know, and you want to be seen because you're working hard, but, you know, being seen is like 10% of the shit, you know.
And I think Humboldt is definitely going to be a big part of the future of a lot of things happening musically and in other ways within California in general. Yeah. Okay. And I'm definitely here to stay, and definitely been carrying, you know, the flag of Humboldt wherever I go. I've been to Europe in 2009 with, you know, incredible artists, Drez, AC Alone, Abstract Rude, and Micah Nine, and
Haiku d'etat.
Yeah, Haiku d'etat. We all did individual sets, solo sets. We all did crew sets, and it's, you know, and I was, again, representing Humboldt, and if it weren't for Humboldt being there for me, I don't think I ever would have ended up doing that. Right. And it's another example of, you know, why I want to continue to do that, because of, you know, how inspiring that was, and I'm like you said, it is a renaissance. So it's nice to be, you know, somewhat of a veteran here, being here for over a couple decades now. And I think I'm doing everything that I've been doing for the last 20 years a lot better, and am willing to share that knowledge and also to learn, because, you know, there's so much more that I could be capitalizing on. So I'm hoping that we can all come together a bit more and make what I see is, you know, the future development of Humboldt with this Cal Poly, and with our efforts here on ground zero, and what we're doing musically to really start shining. We just need to keep at it, and keep breaking bread, and find ways to flip it.
I mean, that's when we get, you know, whether it's Northern Nights or whatever other festivals are happening, it's like I've continued, and I'll still do it, whether it's whatever festival out of the area, the Humboldt Music Stage, wherever it is, at Lollapalooza, the Humboldt Music Stage, when we can get a stage, a small stage at some bigger festival, then we're putting together 12 groups, and then we get the sponsors from Humboldt, and now Humboldt banners are everywhere, and now we're making real noise, like a circus.
And that kind of comes with a lifestyle package again, just like how Fat Bowl is too. It's like, you think about Humboldt, you're talking about Humboldt stage, and you've talked about this exact idea before. It's more than just music too. It comes with cannabis. It comes with
the music, art,
zero waste. That philosophy that I've been trying to adopt more and more every day. Stop being an idiot and buying a bunch of things made of plastic and throwing away and not reusing it. Come on, be conscious of what you're consuming, what you're, you know, putting in your body, and where it's going. You know, just because it goes to this, you know, local sanitization place doesn't mean that it's gone, etc. This is the type of consciousness that hip hop has brought to me. Humboldt has helped elevate as well, and I mean, this is a survival tactic as well. And so if we can incorporate these things through a medium like the Humboldt stage, where we're exposing all this wonderful knowledge and art and doing it well, and you know, having the best of the best represent these wonderful qualities from this area, that would make me really proud if we can manifest that. And I mean, I've thought about it on a level of where, like, I almost want to go out into the world and even compete, like just for the sake of competing and fun. If anything, hip hop has always been about that. You know, it's like at the end of the battle, it's like it's all love. And so I've thought about it in a sense of like Humboldt wine. Humboldt wine needs to go down to Alexander Valley, just set up shop at a comm center, pull some nonprofit license, get the alcohol license, and start doing a Pinot tasting, this or that, and then bring Humboldt music to entertain at the same time,
right?
And some other things that we've just discussed.
Bringing Humboldt on the road,
exactly.
Steve talks about this.
I've never thought about that as far as a community and what we could do, and the reality of that. I really see it manifesting very easily, since we do it all over our community on a regular basis, and we have quite the experience. And there's quite a lot of motivated entrepreneurs here, you know, and members of teams and stuff like that are willing to go campaign. And
bringing Humboldt culture to the world is a really great thing. I mean, Steve Keeter, we talk about this stuff pretty regularly. I've had physical dreams. I worked for Cirque du Soleil for a period of time when I lived in Los Angeles, and I had a dream about a circus, and I woke up with this name called the Magical Traveling Solar Circus and Higher Listening Tour of Awareness. I know it sounds crazy.
Tour of Awareness?
Yeah, it's the Magical Traveling Solar Circus and Higher Listening Tour of Awareness.
Yes.
And it's like, how the fuck are you going to remember that? But if you listen to Parliament Funkadelic, which is a core inspiration in my life, the Parliament's all the way back. You know, you have the awesome power of a fully operational mothership. That's some straight George Clinton shit. Oh, yeah. So when you think about, I remember waking up from the dream and writing this down. You know, the Magical Traveling Solar Circus and Higher Listening Tour of Awareness. It's ingrained forever. And this was in the late '90s, before I lived in Humboldt. And I was like, well, how would anybody remember this shit? And I was like, Magical Traveling Solar Circus and Higher Listening Tour of Awareness. I'm like, of course I wrote something in my head in a dream that was in a full fucking two-bar phrase, you know, or, you know, 8 beats, and you know, so it's like that's where we're at. And then I moved to Humboldt, and then I see, you know, people riding bicycles, making smoothies and shit on the campus, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on around here? So taking Humboldt on the road and the culture out to people, the music, the art, the clothing, the food, the soul, you know, the solar awareness, you know, all of the all of those things. Not only the weed, it's like there's a culture here that's unlike most other places, man. It's pretty amazing, you know, the Emerald Triangle in general. But I'm from Chicago. This place is way different, you know, and the whole world. I always thought that once legalization would happen, that, you know, the governments of the world should be tapping people in Humboldt to teach them what the fuck is going on, so that way the actual U.S. DA and the, you know, and the FDA and everything, how the food's being grown. I mean, if the food being grown was treated the way the weed is being grown, we wouldn't have any fucking Alzheimer's and other diseases. They're forcing weed growers to do all this crazy bullshit, yet they're feeding cows through their necks with liquid corn, and they're just feeding them shit and creating like the most, you know, the craziest pollution. I can go on for days about that shit, but it's like, this is where we're at. So to be able to, when I think about the best food I've eaten in the world, are coming from my friends who grow their own fucking food.
The good life,
and it's happening, and that's what's happening. So it's like, you know, for us to be able to bring the music, the art, the culture, you know, that's what Fappo's all about. But it's like, we just found ourselves adhering to what we believed in here, and it was here long before us. That's for damn sure. So that exists, man. We could bring this out on the road, you know, but it'll take a foundation, which is it's kind of being forged. It's been being forged,
and the organization
we're at a new level now, in the Renaissance phase. So that the incubation period is ended, and now some other shit's happening. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next few years to Humboldt hip hop.
Heck yeah.
You know,
the reggae scene too, and then what Sarge is doing on that side of things too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, it's been incredible just to be able to get back into reggae and dancehall music and just staying up on all the current releases and becoming a better producer and contributing to it more, working with a whole heap load of artists from Jamaica. Humboldt is always going to be a place for reggae and dancehall, and Afro beats now is just taking over, and I'm excited the inspiration I'm getting from that as well, the production level and just as a selector and stuff.
It's fun.
It really is, man. You can't really DJ a show this day and age without being asked or even yourself wanting to play that style of music. So it's just incredibly inspiring this day and age. Like you said, a renaissance. So it's really go time. That's for sure. I'm definitely feeling that musically, and I'm really hyped on the opportunity to come on the podcast and just share what hip hop has done for me in general, and Humboldt hip hop, and where I'm at now musically, and doing well, and healthy and just thankful, and again contribute that to the community I live in, my peers, and just personal just discipline, just working hard, taking care of myself. Nothing is easy, and I gotta big up my man C Baker, always on the positive philosophies in life, and keeping us brothers and sisters out here humble and inspired and stuff. So there's so many inspirations you can gather from anybody. Just keep your mind open, and that's what I tell myself every day, just because I don't want to short myself. Greatness must happen, must persist. So I'm all about trying to harvest it, and just, I want so much more out of music personally, that I'm just going to use this experience to help jump off of it, and I'm sure that we'll all be witnessing more and more greatness from each other as we all continue to surround ourselves with greatness, and just keep striving, literally, what we want to do, because our destiny is in our hands, and I'm again just really happy to be a part of the culture here in Humboldt in general.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, we are.
In a lot of ways.
It's a blessing.
Think about all the years I've been able to just go make a track, go show up to the studio and blaze a couple joints with you, win strong. It's just like, all right, I'm just coming through. Okay, what are you doing? Oh, it's just, I got a couple hours. Just come through. Just like always able to go make beats all for years. Just the humble culture allowed me and you and all of our friends the ability to just show up and make a lot of music, and smoke a lot of good weed, and it's a grateful place to be. I know a lot of people work 2 jobs, and so those times have changed, a little bit. Everyone's working 2 jobs again, even in Humboldt. It's but the weed life was good to a lot of people for a long time. I have a stack of records this thick to a playlist on Spotify that's got 260. I don't even know how many songs on it. That stuff I've touched from Vidal, from everyone. I just start every time something shows up that I played on or was part of a road or anything. I just add it to the Beast Whistler playlist. So what and everyone else gets to shine when it plays. So that's all good. But it's just like that. Just reminds me, like, okay, we're doing something here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we got to pass the torch, and we have to show up, and we have to tell our stories. And when I think about the elders, think about all the reggae artists, the elders that you've backed. And I think about the Bill Summers of the world, from the Headhunters, and elders from the Frank Zappa band, people that I've toured with, and that are elders, like in their 70s and 80s, who've been like, like Shehu Kuti, right? Fela Kuti's son, when Afromassive toured with Shehu Kuti in Egypt 80, that's like legendary Afrobeat. and we're this white boy band of Afrobeat from Humboldt, but doing it legit, you know, and
that's awesome.
They were just recognizing how important it was for us to be playing that music, because how else is it going to continue to exist when these people are dead? How long is it going to exist when the people before us aren't alive anymore and we're not out there exposing it?
One of the things I also like about that too is just the unity that it shows between white people from California, or whether it's a mixed group. In the case,
right,
and I can relate just real quickly, is that with my band, the Wiseman Band, we're just 4 white dudes, all of us from California, and we're backing, international artists. And one of the artists we're backing right now, his name is Black Hero. He's from Kingston, Jamaica. He's a youth from Jamaica, blowing up. Was just nominated for a Grammy with his track with Rocky Dawuni. Was from Africa, a Nigerian artist, I believe. And it's again, small community, small area in California, working with anybody that is talented, that is on the same tip as us, in the sense we love reggae and dancehall. That's how we linked up with Black Hero, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of that and to show other states outside of California. I know there's different biases out there. America is not California. America is incredibly straight here. Some more loose, some more open, some more right, some more left, and I know there's a lot of hating on California, and that's fine too. That's okay. We, as much as we love New York and how hip hop spawned from there, and then hip hop spawned from Jamaican culture and dancehall and reggae as well. New York is highly segregated. And has been, but yet it's the, one of the states we call our melting pot. And with that said, it's just, I like to break the stereotypes. I like to break any taboos out there. And I'm definitely a product of that.
Think about how many times we played Reggae on the River and they're getting straight steamrolled with dudes' eyes because we're about to get on the main stage. We're walking up with Lion
Humboldt
Camp
band.
or with Ishi, and there's international reggae artists just staring us down. You know what I mean? And then after you get off the stage, you're all like, it's like,
because you have
no doubt
respect for the craft. And
I proved myself. Thank you, sir. I'll accept your not stink eye. Thank you. I understand. I get it. You know what I mean? But we have to work harder.
Yeah, we all have to.
That stigma, that stereotype, that, it's like, your white boy getting up on with a reggae band. Blair Shots, a fantastic drummer. He recorded with Toots and the Maytals, and they had a fantastic nickname for him. It was straight up, only white boy. He was the only white boy in the room, man, and he laid that drum down.
Awesome,
and so it was like, so it's when you get up and when you go into those conditions, knowing that OGs are there staring you down, being like, yo, Keezy, you're gonna bang it and bubble, right? Because otherwise, you cut the fuck off.
When it comes to reggae, yeah.
I made sure I worked hard on getting my bangs and bubbles down, and thankfully, I got my bubbles down and I get the look, and they're like, Oregon, man, old school, I'm like, yo, give me a clavinet in Oregon, man. That's my school of reggae. 76, 73 Whalers and some, Sausalito. That recording right there is like the juiciest sounding organ and clavinet.
To relate to the reggae, what you're talking about, the reggae Grammy was given to Kabaka Pyramid.
Right.
And shout out to him and all his hard work. That album was produced by Junior Gong. And, it's just, you could tell it's just a phenomenal layout of an album, modern day reggae album. And the reason why I bring that up is because Kabaka, his favorite MC is Nas. And he comes from a hip hop foundation. I don't think he would be as well known as he has if it weren't for his style of music that he does and the way his delivery. I've seen him tear down Reggae on the River with just DJ Yadcore as his backing DJ. and it was as if he had a band. And actually, that show at Reggae on the River, I think, has probably outbeat one of his live performances that he's done in Humboldt, because he's been here a bunch, so I've seen enough to know. And so I can really appreciate that. And then on another tip, on a musician tip, because everything that I've done in hip hop or reggae or dancehall is always because I've appreciated being a musician. One of the reasons why I linked with Mike and I is because he's a fun musician to work with.
Oh, yeah, he's a great singer.
I learned so much from that brother. It's just and again, we just like you and I, we're just linking as musicians. I think what you need to consider is like the next show you do, how does the show get better? Like how do I get $100 or $1,000 or $5,000 more? What do I got to bring to the table? Is it a light show? Is it dancing? Is it more gimmicks? Is it some more choreography? Is it another acapella moment? Is it a combination of those things with the lighting and the acapella, or or is it a brand new unreleased song or two? You got to keep taking it to a next level. Why do you get more money than me? Why do you deserve more? Because I know why I deserve more, and I'm working on those things, all those things that I said and more. So you got to take your show to a next level, but also keep your roots and your foundation as well. You don't want to be boring, and you gotta, so I saw Protege at Sierra Nevada, and I was like, okay, I want to see what he's gonna do to make me not feel bored. Not that I've ever felt bored at a show of his, but I've seen him a couple times, and he does almost 100 shows a year. So how, you do a show every 3 days in a year, what's good about it? I might see you 20 times in a year. Why am I coming back? I'm not some ultra fan just going to go flock into your, I got a whole heap load of artists I've never seen I would rather go see. But when I had the opportunity, and I've had many to go see him, I've been impressed about the way he works with his band, lets his group shine, his flows, he always on point. His mic control is proper. He has a sound man or a sound woman, doing the sound. That is crucial for the next level artist, is that. And having or taking your thing, your live thing, and expanding it to a band, a small 4-piece or less or more, even a 3-piece, but still maintaining. If I were to recommend anything, because I'm recommending this to myself all the time as I evolve, is a level of rawness. Too polished is boring. It's way too rehearsed. I mean, to an extent. I mean, some artists kind of harness, I think, that need for the clever polishness, and maybe that's their shtick. But I think that if there's a level of rawness in there, it's always going to be well received and appreciated, because you're really putting your heart out there. You're really going hard. So that is something I always try to consider, and not going too hard on myself, and quickly just moving on and saying, what, fuck it, I take this serious enough. I'm going to get better by just telling myself just simply that, like, there's no going backwards, strictly forward. So I'm glad that I've definitely dabbled around in different genres of music, and I've always been inspired by so many different things in life that I've never felt limited into what I could experience and how I could experience to an extent, and just find your lane and where your size within that, and then continue to evolve, because again, sky's the limit. It's something that hip hop and my parents, shout out to my parents and my friends and their parents that have helped me feel this way to this day. I've never shied away from expressing that exact thought to everyone and anyone. And all I can do is be thankful for that, because not everybody has that opportunity, that kind of support. And I understand that, but there's no excuses. If you really want it in life, and you are blessed right now to have this conscious opportunity to do something with your life, then you need to make the most of it as we all know, it just flies by, and you got to also too along the journey enjoy the process and remember to thank those people along that journey, whether it's through love or just touch and just general thankfulness, because it goes a long way, because it's a small world, y'all. If I've learned anything, it's a small world, and you really got to be on your toes and just take advantage of it. And that's how I feel as a result of living here in Humboldt and where I'm at now in my life, through music, and why I still do it is because I need that outlet of expression, and it's there's so many opportunities for it out here in Humboldt. So
yep. Now we're really, really blessed. I mean, like you guys said, between the people that are out here, I mean, there's just so many gems that are tucked away, right? Like, I mean, I just think about somebody like, like Amdi, you know what I mean, with the Watts Prophets,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's living up here,
years and years and years.
That's like a, I don't want to say diamond in the rough, you know what I mean? But that's, he's a gem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Up here, and like a lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? But you could walk to the grocery store and walk across them. You know what I mean? So it's just the most interesting thing. It's almost like somebody's talked about this on the podcast before, but it's almost like being in LA when the scene was kind of like popping, because there's a lot of artists. You just might walk to the grocery store and I might see 2 Tank at Winco, or what I'm saying, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so with that being said, and these dope artists that are out here to collaborate with, there's Juice's studio, there's places, there's Jay the Sarge's studio. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you guys are, One Wise killing it. One Wise is between you and Benji too, man. What you guys are doing for the shows, man. Respect and shout out to you and Benji for that. Yeah.
I mean, I had an opportunity to record with Chief Excel at my studio where I currently am in Arcata, and I think Gift of Gab was over with Chief, and they were recording on a project that I don't know if it ever came out yet, but Windstrong had made the link, and that was really, really fun to be able to work with.
Remember, weren't we working on something? You had me over to work on something, and we smoked a joint, and Windstrong showed up, but those guys were coming through, so I bounced.
That's right.
I was like, I'm bouncing, but Blacklicious is about to show up.
Yeah, he was doing some poetry, recording it on some beats. They were kind of instrumental, chill, relaxed beats, and he was doing his spoken word style on it. It was really dope.
That's dope.
Yeah, Watts Prophets, man. Amdi lives up here.
And then I realized that he had family up here, and he was.
That's Honest is his family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. I'd met Honest not too long after that, or maybe even before that, with his friend Exodus.
Yeah.
And realized that he's an incredible talent as well.
Yep.
He was friends with
really good friend.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Fuzz, bass player Fuzz.
Yes.
From back in the day, Bump Foundation. He moved to Texas, but Fuzz lived here a long time, and Fuzz crossed paths with Amdi many years ago, and he was like, "Wait a minute, what? Don't you know all my homies make hip hop?" And so we all kind of got to meet Amdi, and we're all like, "Holy shit, Watts Prophets, man! These guys are like the OGs of OGs, man! Like, this dude's up here."
Yeah.
This is a trip, man. Like the coolest thing ever.
So take advantage, artists, that are up here. You know what I mean? Don't think that like it's a blessing. You could live in a spot where there's not all this different talent around here to work with, to be around, to be inspired by. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it for granted. Like that, like we talked about it multiple times on the pod, kind of like the gift and the curse of being in Humboldt County, right? And being a cannabis, area, and the mentality involved with it. People like to just kind of chill back, you know what I mean? And everything like that. But there's got to be what you guys are talking about. If you're hungry, you got to respect the opportunity that's out there, because if you're not doing right by the culture, if you want to be a part of the culture, you want to get your craft out there, and you're not respecting what's out there, I almost take it as a disrespect for people that are out there, like, just not taking it serious. And I mean, I understand, like, if you're a hobbyist, that's cool, you know what I mean? But like Swizz was saying, if you're 16, 17, 18, 19, and you're realizing this is your lane, you know what I mean? Those people, you know what I mean? Like, it's only right to, just acknowledge what we have around here and maximize it. Do the best by it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Support when you can, and take advantage of it.
Yeah.
At the same time, get that experience. That's what I've been able to gather here in Humboldt, is the opportunity to do a lot of different shows and get that experience, work on the craft, figure out what lane I want to be in, what I enjoy the most. And boom, and represent the best I can as a result of, what I decide to do.
Sarge, have you met my friend Eddie Montana?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to introduce you to Eddie, man, because you were saying you like the Afro beats music. Because Afro beats is definitely popping right now. You know what I mean? It's worldwide. It's the biggest art form, I want to say, most following. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's Nigerian. A lot of it's like centered out of Lagos. You know what I mean? I mean, the biggest artists are coming out of Lagos: Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Eddie's super dope, man. So I'm gonna have to link you up, have him step to One Wise and
sick.
Check it out. Yeah,
that sounds great.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
Well, hey fellas, this was a good one. We only hit on so much too. Like, I definitely know that there's obviously a lane for part 2 with Jay the Sarge to come back through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We can focus on different projects we've worked on. Windstrong songs, elaborate. There's so much history in some of the music we've done together too.
It's such a small community too. Like, I remember hearing that prior, but I mean, that's so crazy that you were in the same band with Kariki, way back Masagana, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean, it's such a small area, man. That's so cool.
It is. Yeah. It is, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate that. Humboldt Hip Hop Podcast. Big up yourself. Big up David. Big up Swizlo.
Yeah.
Big up the Juice Box. Thank you so much, man. Pleasure.
Thanks so much, Sarge.
Respect.
Hey, I appreciate you, Juice, for letting us use the Juice Box as always, man. Thank you, Swizz. Thanks, Jay the Sarge. Everybody keep an eye out for what all these gents are doing in this community. It's top-notch level work on every level, I'm telling you. Keep an eye on the podcast, www.HipHopHumboldt.com, and thanks so much, Humboldt County.
That's it.
Humboldt.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Heck yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh shoot, we didn't even bring out the tone. I forgot to bust out the Scott Holmquist for Swizz right there.
Oh, that's okay.